afternoon, we're back in Gartshore's garage, and today we're going to finish off our oil change. And it's not the engine oil change, we're going to do the gearbox oil change. And remember last time I said we needed a special tool. Well, here it is. It looks like a normal nut, but it's got this hole in the middle, and that's the special part of it. And so I had to order that. You also need one of these, which is just a normal 10mm, like an Allen key, but as a bolt. And we need something to catch the oil in, which is the old oil pan, which we're going to let out in a minute. I've got an extension there. I've got a torque wrench, because today I am actually going to tighten the plugs back up to the right torque settings. And it's a very awkward and convoluted process changing the oil on one of these Audis. And it's this kind of stuff. It's a CVT transmission. And to change the CVT oil is actually rather annoying, because it has to be done from underneath the car. There's no sort of filler from the top, from the engine side. So all has to be pumped into the engine. Now, a lot of people have sort of very strange contraptions. They have a tube which they attach one end to the bottle, they attach the other end to a sort of a plug that goes into the gearbox, and they just let gravity do the work. And that's a real pain, especially when you're dealing with 1 litre bottles. So I've got one of these, and that's actually a pump, an oil pump. And you just put your oil in there as much as you need, pump it into the gearbox, and then your oil is theoretically changed. Now for that, of course, you don't just need the pump, you need this adapter, which will hopefully screw into the hole that we're about to unscrew. So yeah, like I said, it's very awkward. There are 2 plugs under there in the gearbox. There's a plug to let the oil out, and then there's another plug where you control the level of the oil. Inside that plug there's sort of a plastic tube at the top end of it, so when you fill it up with oil, the gearbox, yeah, it can't really get out. And that tube sort of tells you where the maximum level should be, so that there's just enough oil. And then to make it more complicated, because it's gearbox oil, that changes its viscosity at different temperatures, so only at a certain temperature do you have the right level of oil. It's getting really rather complicated, isn't it? So what we have to do is we let the old oil out, then we fill the gearbox up with some new oil, okay? We leave this plug open, the control plug open, we switch the car on, we let the car go sort of through the gears so that the oil goes all the way through the automatic transmission as it is, and then we let the oil heat up to between 35 and 45 degrees centigrade. How do you measure that? I'll show you that in a minute. You need a computer. And this is where it gets complicated. So let's start with the mechanical stuff. We've got to get the old oil out, which means I need to crawl underneath the car again and hopefully let it out. Now these plugs haven't been opened for ages, if ever before. I haven't seen the quality of the oil in the gearbox yet. I know it needs change. We've got 250,000 kilometers on the car. And when we bought it, it was at 230. And theoretically it needs changed every 60,000 kilometers. So whether it was changed at 180 or not, we don't know. It's not in the service records that they did it. Some people think Audis have a lifetime oil filling, and I'm not a great fan of lifetime oil, and I know that this oil should be changed every 60,000 kilometers, so I'm quite interested to see what colour the oil is when it comes out. So let's go underneath and see what's going on. Okay, so here we are back under the car, and I don't know if you can see this properly, but we have 2 screws under here, and this is the one I'm going to undo first, and there's the big one that we needed the fancy tool for. Now, this one that I've got the nut attached to already, this is the fill plug. So I'm going to make sure I can get the fill plug open first, so that I know I can get oil back in. You understand? This is the one with the sort of tube at the top, which keeps the level there, okay? So I'm going to do this one first, and I've just loosened it very slightly already. There it goes. So that's good. So it's now loose. So I'm quite chuffed with that. So depends. If the oil was right, then there won't be much oil coming out of this one. But I'm going to catch it anyway, just in case. Oh, that looks good. I think the oil has been changed regularly, because this plug came out rather easily. They're only supposed to be put in hand tight anyway. Oh yeah, so the oil's actually in rather good looking condition. It's not that dark. So the oil definitely has been changed before. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good news. That's good news. So we're going to let that sort of drip out a little bit. And then obviously I need to undo the other plug in a moment and let the rest of the oil out, most of it. Now, quite a lot is going to come out. Okay, that's a good sign. It's a very good sign. Still got that sort of reddish colour to it. Very nice. So later, this is what we're looking for later when we fill it back up. When the oils come up to the right temperature, it's going to sort of, we're going to keep filling it up until this happens, until it drips out. Then that plug is going to go back in, tighten it up, and we know we've got pretty much exactly the right amount of oil in there. You shouldn't have too much, and you definitely shouldn't have too little. So I'm going to let that drip for now, and then I'm going to open the other plug up. So most of the oil has drained out of the fill plug, so I'm now going to, oh God, open up the other one. We needed the fancy tool for. Oh, it's quite difficult doing this underneath the car like this. It helps if you have a lift or a pit where you can get under the car properly, but the whole point of this channel is to show you that these things are actually possible in your own garage at home. God. And there's no room to move. And no air to get it. Well, by the way, if you're gonna do things like this on an Audi at home, it's quite important to make sure you don't just jack up the front of the car. You should jack up the entire car. Yeah, the car has to be level for this. Think about it. The gearbox is at a certain angle, and we're filling it to a certain level that we can't see ourselves and we can't measure ourselves. So, you know, if the car's tilted like that, you're going to have the wrong level. Right. Anyway, this is now going to open up, and all the oil is going to come rushing out at a great rate of knots. And I need to get my hand out of the way as quickly as possible. Ready, and go. Now, while that's doing that, I'm going to open up the other plug as well, so we've got some air coming through. That should let it flow out quite nicely. The oil doesn't smell burnt, and it certainly doesn't look burnt, so there we are, that's better, that's what we want. Whoa, 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 it's flowing out at quite a fast rate. That was close, it almost overflowed from our oil filling pan. That would have been a rather nice mess on the floor. It does have a sort of brownish colour rather than a reddish colour, so it's not brand new, but it is definitely not in bad condition, this oil. So it has been regularly changed, as I said before, so quite happy about that. So we're just going to let that drain out, and then we have to fill it up with some new oil. Thank you, by the way, for subscribing so much to my new channel. It's only been up for a day and we've already got sort of almost 300 subscribers. Thank you. Let's hope that continues. There have been quite a lot of comments as well already, and somebody asked me, sun's coming out, somebody asked me as well, why aren't you wearing gloves? And then, or what do you use to clean your hands? You're an organist, you're a musician, you've got to look after your hands. I've never looked after my hands. I've worked or played around with cars pretty much all of my adult life, and I love getting my hands dirty doing things, and I don't take care of my hands very well. I've never used hand cream in my life. My wife gets rather annoyed about that because I have apparently quite good skin in my hands. Maybe it's all the car oil and stuff that I use there, but yeah. What do I use to clean them when I'm finished with this? Well, I get rid of the worst of the dirt with brake cleaner, spray that, and then I just wash my hands with normal soap. It's as simple as that. Yeah, and I don't like wearing gloves. Someone said you should wear gloves when you do this kind of work, but I don't like wearing gloves because you don't get the sort of proper feeling of everything. I like to feel what I'm doing and not just see what I'm doing. So, there you go. So, hopefully most of the oil is out. Let's get back and get this job finished. Okay, so we've got the drain plug back in, cleaned everything up, and I've got this fill adapter screwed in already. So what I can do now, I can attach the pump to the bottom of that, pump as much oil in as I need for the beginning, and then when it's pretty much full, I can leave it open like this. Yeah. And then we start the car, let it run, like I said, and then we see what happens. So if oil starts sort of dripping out of there, no problem. Pump a little bit more in. Now what I might actually do is pump a little bit more in anyway. Let that sort of drain right through, and then we let it basically drain out. This is only in hand tight, but let it drain out until it's only dripping. And then I can quickly get this out, put the proper plug back in, and we're finished. Simple as that. So next part is get the oil in. Okay, so I've got 4 litres 4 of those little bottles, 4 litres in my pump. I've cleaned the pump through so that there's already some of the new oil. Now, as you can see, the new oil is a different colour, but I have checked, as it is the right oil, it has the right specs, it's got to have the right Volkswagen Audi specifications, and it does, so it must be the right stuff. It's just a different colour, which is fine. It's not a bad idea actually, because it means when we change it next time, I can buy the same brand and I know what the colour is supposed to be. So the pump is set up, I've got it linked to our little filler plug underneath. I just need to open that, and then we can pump all this oil in, and then we're on to stage 2. So I'm just going to pump the oil in. It's much easier than doing it with other contraptions, holding it here, holding it there. It's actually quite easy. So I've switched off the pump. I've stopped the pump, and I need to do a bit of jiggling here, because we might get. Oh, actually, I'll use some paper. So the 4 litres are in. Now I'm going to remove this from that stopper here and see. Oh yeah. So we have already got our oil level correct. It's often the case. Oh yes, look at that, perfect. So we've had more oil in there than we needed. 4 litres is more than enough usually when we're doing this. I'm just going to let this drip out until that's pretty much sort of stopped, and then we know we've got roughly the right level. You can see it's already slowing down there. So what we're looking for is when it gets to 35 to 45 degrees, we're looking for basically that amount of drip, and then I need to get that out very quickly, and that plug, or is it that plug, back in kind of quickly. Okay, so we've got the level exactly right. That's it. So what we have to do now, we've already started the engine quickly and just given it a quick rev, and that sort of just gets rid of any air in the system. So what we do now is I have to start the car, and with my foot on the brake, obviously because we're jacked up, but I then run it through all the different gear selections there, so that the oil goes right through the gearbox. And then we have to wait until the oil temperature is warm enough. Now for that, of course, you need the right software and the right cable, and for copyright reasons I'm not going to show you that. So we're just going to quickly start the car. And I'm going to put it into R, leave it for a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, and then into N, into D, wait for a second or two, into S, wait for a second or two, same again in the other direction, D, N, R, and then back to P. I can leave that running now. Got to wait for the oil temperature to get up. Sorry, something banged outside, don't know what that was. So we're at 18 degrees centigrade. So this could take a little while. So we have to wait for it to be between 35 and 45. So what I'm going to do, when it's at 35, we'll come back and start filming again, and then I'll show you what we do. We pump a little more oil in, because obviously it's running through the whole system now. Now it's at 19, so you can see how long this is going to take. Let it pump through the whole system, and then we can top it right up and make sure we get that nice little drip again, and that's it finished. Okay, so we've got the temperature up to 38, 39 degrees, and that's sort of roughly in the middle between 35 and 45. That's good enough for me. And what I'm going to do, because nothing is dripping out, I'm going to pump in about another, maybe about another half a litre or so, and then we're just going to undo this and then let it drip. And as it drips, and when it stops dripping, sorry, then I know we've got the right level. There's our screw in the right place. So, where did I put my spanner? I've left my spanner outside. Back in a minute. So I'm going to undo this now. We're just going to sort of let it drip out until it's pretty much coming. See if it is going to drip. Maybe it won't drip yet. Oh yes, it is. So there we go.
So you can see there's some older oil coming out there, but there's not too much. Starting to get the air, that's fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to undo this and let it drip all the way out. My new screw, or my tidy clean screw, is ready to go back in. So as soon as this has finished dripping, or pretty much finished dripping, I know we're at the right level and in it can go. So that looks pretty good to me. It's just sort of still dripping a little bit. Put the plug back in. Oops. Let that go. As long as there's not a huge amount of oil dripping out, it's not too much. And if there was nothing dripping out, it's too little. So we've got it pretty much there. All I need to do now is tighten that up, get the car back down and go for a quick test drive. And that's it.
So all in all, we didn't use that many litres of oil. We've used about, I don't know, 5.5 maybe. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pump what's left in the pump into this little oil bottle here. So that I have some fresh oil for next time. This stuff lasts for about 4 years, so I'm not really worried about it going off. So once this is done, get everything tidied up, like I say, get the car back down, go for a quick test drive, make sure everything's okay, and that's it. Good little tip, by the way, once you're finished with all your tools, especially if they're covered in oil, give them a good squirt with some brake cleaner, clean them off before you store them again. It's always good to have clean tools. And once all the oil's in, once everything's tidied up, once the car's back down, take it for a little test drive. Keep an eye on the tachometer needle, make sure it's not leaping around. Should be nice and steady when you're driving along. And that's it. No funny noises, no funny sounds, no funny feelings, just things falling around in the boot. That's it. Job well done. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget to ring the bell because in the next few days and weeks and months there are going to be more of these Gartshore's Garage videos. That's it for today though. See you next time. Bye bye.